I am I don't know how I'm feeling about this. This is might like be one of those times where it's just like a terrible idea and I should not be going live on YouTube. So if I have a complete like freak out and meltdown, well, it's out here for the world to see. This is definitely going to be a little bit different for me. I'm just going to be like Raleigh walking you through. Raleigh, does that even make sense? Like walking you through just the beautiful pain that I'm in right now and the experience of losing my dad recently. Um, Partially because like I have a lot I'm trying to figure out and process. And I want to be able to go back and like continue to learn from where I'm at right now. And then the other thing is that I don't know, for some reason I feel like maybe for someone this will be helpful, but I wanna tell you, like, it's gonna be heavier things that I'm talking about. It's definitely stuff that are like, we're talking about, like, death, we're talking about, like, raw emotions and sad things, and I'll do my best to be, like, vulnerable, but also guarding I always just try to, like, guard people's stories around me. So, I'm gonna walk you through, like, where I'm at right now after my dad died and what this experience has been for me because, like I said, there's just been so many cool things that I feel like are coming out of it, even though I'm in so much pain and like hurting right now. So I'm just gonna go through it. All right. So I was away at I'm calling it brain camp, where that's a whole nother story. So if you're interested in understanding what was happening with my brain and why I went away to brain camp, then you can go check out my other videos because I just did one on that. But it was like this thing that was kind of like a long time coming. And it was like great that I was finally there. And right before I left, I actually was like, Dad, I need a tripod and I can't find mine. I need you to bring it over to me. And he's like, okay, I'll bring it over, which I'm so grateful that he did because I got to say goodbye for the last time. Oh man, I might be crying on this, guys. That's terrible. So, and it was just one of those moments where like he was getting ready to leave. I'm like, Dad, turn around and give me a hug. I'm leaving. And I definitely always had this fear in the back of my head, like, maybe this would be the last time just because of some of the things from from my dad's story and journey with like health, even though this kind of was a surprise, but it wasn't. There was always like that fear that would be like, maybe this is it. And but I just also like didn't want to give into that. Anyway, I was away and it was a whirlwind for me. Definitely like something I'm gonna have to even process in itself. But I I got a call from my husband, from Kevin, and I knew something was wrong. Like he sent me a text and you just know. And then I saw the text and then I called him, and long story short, he was like, your dad went into cardiac arrest and he's having seizures and he's not doing well. You got to come home. I As soon as he said cardiac arrest, or I think he said heart attack at the time, I was just like, whoa, what the heck? Like, okay. But I figured that my dad was going to be all right. And then when he said seizures too, I was like, this is not good. So I ended up going, and I would have normally rushed home for something like this, but I felt like that I just needed to settle for a little while. And I wasn't sure why I needed to, but I was like, I'm leaving tomorrow already. My flight's already booked. I'm not trying to find a last minute flight tonight because I don't feel like that's the best thing for me to do. So I actually went and got lost in the mountains of Utah, which was like really awesome. And it was just kind of processing like what is really happening and going on. But I was like having time of my life out there. It was beautiful, but I was like, there's a lot going on at home. Like maybe I should be freaking out more. And but I wasn't. I was just at a good spot. And but I was like, all right, God, like when you're ready, sorry, you see my dog popping around up here. When you're ready, like if there's something I need to be processing before I go home, like help me get to that point and do that. And I'm about an hour and a half, 2 hours into my hike, and I was just like bopping along in my music. And all of a sudden, I had this like overwhelming peace like come over me. And with that peace, I was like, oh, I don't, why am I having peace right now? Like, this is weird. And I felt like God was just like whispering to me, like, hey, this time is different and it's time to say goodbye. And I like lost it in that moment. That was like, crap. Like this really could be it with dad. And but I don't want to say goodbye. I still have more things in time that I want to have with him. And it was really cool being able to, like, have that peace and experience it because I really genuinely think that that peace has been carrying me through into, like, where I am now. Um, but coming home, so I ended up getting, like, on a flight the next day. Coming home was I went to the hospital. I got my flight got delayed like 4 or 5 times. It's so freaking annoying. My daughter told me that I should not be saying freaking on here, and she told me that I need to delete that, so I apologize if it bothers you. And it is just like the longest trip home from Utah. Like, it just took a long time. There was like delay after delay, and my husband even got me, and then we went to the hospital, and my dad's on a vent, and it's just hard seeing him like that. And I think some of the realization like started really hitting, but I was able to just kind of be like, Dad, like this is it. It's your choice. Like, it's your time. And either way, if you want to fight, I'm going to support you. And if you're not, then I'm going to also like support you in that decision. So like, this is up to you. And we end up having to have like wait a certain amount of days for them to like do some tests to see like where he was functioning. And he was not functioning well. He was not brain dead, but he could still like hear us and he could still understand things and you could tell that he was still in pain. Um, but he was not ever going to be able to live without being on the vents. So my brothers and I knew like that's not a life to live. Like, why? Like, we're just personally not at a spot where we could like do that to my dad and like keeping him and staying on the vent. And we knew like that's not something that he would want. But he was an organ donor, which that is, I think this is where I'm like struggling the most still in like the story and the timeline of it, because like when you're an organ donor, like that is such an amazing gift. That is such like an honor to be able to like give your body like to someone to like help them continue to live when you're like just not here anymore. And the lives that has the opportunity to help and change is like such a cool thing. um but being on like this side of it, like having that end goal in mind is very important, of knowing like this is why we're doing this. Because after you come to that spot of making a decision of like, okay, we're going to let dad go, like we were ready. Like, we were ready to do that. I had just gotten to say my goodbyes, where my dad's eyes have been like rolling in the back of his head for a while, but I was just talking to him like, Dad, this is your time to fight, or this is your time to say you're done. But like, I don't know, I had a few words with him. Um, and he hadn't really been looking at us, but like he looked at me and he was just crying, but like he can't respond or do anything. So I got to say goodbye. And so when we got to that point of like having that conversation with the doctors of, hey, this is what it would look like, or it's like time to let him go and he's an organ donor, we were like, okay, that's where we're at. Like, let's do this. When you get to that spot of like, okay, we say our goodbyes, like machines are keeping him alive, like we're ready. And having to like start the process of organ donation is a little it's difficult because they had to wait 3 full days until they could harvest my dad's organs. So like it was a time where like, I mean, they were making sure he was comfortable and all the good things, like, and they weren't like overstepping and doing too much, but they were having to also keep him alive. Like, it was this really weird balance. And so you're stuck in this in between at the hospital, sitting by your loved ones during this waiting for harvesting to happen, because they're still there. So you're there with them waiting to say goodbye, but like you know that they're also like not fully there and that they're waiting to die too, but you're just like stuck because there's only so many times you can say goodbye and so many things that you can say. But then it's also like you're like, this is the reality of where we're at. So that those like 3 days were like, one, just going through the motions. And if you've experienced this with being like being with a loved one when they're about to be an organ donor, like, I am sorry. Because that is a hard thing to, like, have to sit and do, and it almost feels wrong at times. I was like, "Why are we just keeping my dad alive to kill him tomorrow?" Like, this is really bizarre, um, but the end goal is for something so much greater, so I just really took on this spot and this position of, like, "Dad, this is your last gift to give," and, like, my dad was a gift giver in the way of, like, experiences and stories and time, um, and he did like to give things and his work, and anyway, I just like, came to a spot where the position was just like, "This is your last gift to give while you're here on this earth, and so I wanna help honor that for you, and the only way I know how to help honor you in that is by, like, cheering you on for the next few days, even though it really sucks." This is, like, the worst thing to be putting on YouTube. I have no idea why I felt like I should do this, and I feel like I'm talking way too much, so just fast forward things. So I was given the opportunity to sit there for a few days and just kind of spend a little bit of time reflecting. Um, I feel like my brother texted me, and I feel like, okay, I thought he was gonna say that he saw my live, and he's like, "What the heck are you doing?" um, I don't know what I was saying now. But I was given the opportunity to sit there and really, like, spend some time, like, reflecting on my relationship with my dad. And this is the first part of, like, beauty I was really able to start to see in, like, all of this pain, was that there were, like, years in my life, in my relationship with my dad, that were so hard and so difficult and brought, like, immense pain into my life, and that were really, really hard to navigate. And for years, I genuinely did, like, wish my dad was dead and would think that my life was going to or would be better. And at times, like, honestly, it probably would have been that. But the last like 7 years, and I want to say really the last four, because we went to this amazing conference together, and like my dad and I got to experience some like real healing in our relationship. But even before that, like the last 7 years, because we both like allowed God to continue to work on us and then continue to like extend grace and like still show up, but really deal with like our actual stuff. Like my dad and I were able to really grow from that experience and grow in our relationship in a real way that wasn't like this romanticized idea of like the drama never existed or the traumas never existed, or this way of like me just pretending that stuff didn't happen. Like we had genuine and true, like heart-wrenching, hard conversations, lots of tears and working through things. And like we got to a spot where I genuinely like just loved having my dad around. Sometimes he would still annoy the crap out of me and he would say things that I'm just like, why would you say that or do that? Or that's inappropriate, all those things. But my dad really had become a good friend. And I loved watching with my kids. Sometimes he would annoy me with them, but he loved my kids. And so my counselor actually asked me, like, if there was one way or one word to like describe your relationship with your dad, like now with it, like what would that be? And I said, I said that it was redeemed in a lot of ways. Like our relationship, because of God's love and grace in our relationship, was redeemed in a real way. And I think a lot of that is because one, perspective, because I'm getting older. Two, because he finally like started owning up to things. I was able to figure it out, take ownership for my things, and then really learning the forgiveness of God, where like I genuinely, as much as like there was so much stuff and pain that happened in my relationship with my dad, I came to a spot in my relationship with Christ where I couldn't not forgive him like my dad because of like what God has forgiven in me. And in order to like be able to really receive that forgiveness, I needed to be able to like look around at relationships that had hurt me most and like understand what forgiveness would like cost me and like being able to do that and like live that out so I could understand part of God's forgiveness and like just this whole thing. And I have like snot coming down my nose. Guys, this is bad. I should have brought in tissues. Nolling want to be my tissue. Um sorry. This is gonna be super long too. I don't even know. I'm not even sticking to any of my stuff. But it's cool because I got to really like experience like genuinely that in a relationship here on earth. And it's really cool because I know that's not a lot of people's stories. And I really, really did not think it was going to be mine and my dad's by any means. Really, really, I did not. Um, and so I'm so grateful. Like when I was in the hospital with him and I was like, all right, I'm going to champion you on. Like, you've got this. This is great. Like, do it. Um, I was able to be like happy and excited that I got to have those few years with him that were good because like I'm 34, so we're saying like the last like 4 years been really good. That's 30 years of my life with my dad's relationship, like where there was good times, there absolutely was, but like there was just a lot of crap there, guys. Um, so I was really, really grateful. And it's like a different kind of hurt because it hurts that like I don't get to have him here anymore when it was good. Um, but it's so cool that I was there and that we were able to get there in our relationship. So it was nice being able to have some of that time to reflect and in that and the time we were at the hospital. And then my Kevin and I were able to go into the OR when my dad was when they went to go harvest his organs. And one, that's a whole process in itself. Like I thought they were gonna like roll him down. Well, they had this like really sweet thing where they had like everyone line the hall for him and stuff, and like that was beautiful. Um, and then they um they take him downstairs and they take him to the OR and they like prep them first. And so we were thinking, like, you're crying, they're rolling him out of the room, they put him on an elevator, and then you have to wait for the next elevator and you're like sobbing, and there's like all these people staring at you, and you're like, what the heck is going on? How am I supposed to act? And there's literally like 50, 60 people. And our elevator, the second one, was taking so long and it finally dinged. And I just like released this, like, oh my gosh, that is the longest elevator ever. And everyone just starts cracking up because it's just like this like part where the movie just keeps going and you're like they needed to end it, like it was just like it was weird. But then we waited like an hour or something while they were prepping my dad's body and then taking everything out before us to be able to go say goodbye. And so we got to go into the room. It's just really funny. We asked him, my brother said, play Amazing Grace. So we had this one picked out and they played Aretha Franklin, Amazing Grace, where it was like a concert. And I wanted to be like, can you please turn this off? Like, just read the room. It's not right. But then I knew what was happening fast for my dad because he was like ready. Um, so I was like, I don't want to miss this. So I don't want to like turn around and say turn this off. So I'm sitting there like laughing, like, oh gosh, dad, you're gonna go fast because you're like, get me out of here. Like, this is terrible. um, but that moment with my dad was like one of the most beautiful gifts I think I've ever been able to receive from anyone. in like the idea of experience with them. Whew. I haven't talked about this really. Like in detail. Maybe I won't go too detailed. My dad had a genuine relationship with Christ. He really did. There was times, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be like, really, really, Dad? Uh, or times where I just like straight up disagreed in the way that he chose to like live out his walk. Um, but I know that my dad knew Jesus. And so for me, like, I don't know how people handle death like without Jesus, without God. Like, I don't know, like, where, like, not in a judgmental way, but like, I just have no idea how I would handle a situation like this. I just have no idea how I would walk through it because like there's nothing that I feel like would be anchoring me. I would have no idea really. I don't know, maybe I'd have different beliefs, but like I don't know how I would do this without Jesus. And maybe that like makes me weak. Maybe it's like I because I couldn't handle it on my own. But I have also really been learning over the past 2 years that like God really really is made perfect in my weaknesses and like his strength so much better than mine. And the only way I can really rely on that strength is if I let go of things on my own. So I'm all right with being weak because in him I'm made strong. So I know like dad was going to heaven. I know that. And even in the last, like, I want to say year and a half, like, even his walk had just changed and grown and it was cool. But, like, dad was also, like, my Bible person. Like, if I had a Bible question, that's who I was calling. um, so being able to sit there and, all right, so I'll walk you through it a little bit without trying to be too creepy. You're in there and it's like an OR. And he's laying there. And my dad's eyes, like, after he had kind of looked at me that one day, it had been 5 days and I mean, he couldn't do any of that. So at this point, so his eyes would every once in a while like kind of roll up in the back of his head, but like that was it. And I know that someone's gonna be like, this is scientific, this is what happens, yada yada. I know there probably is, but like this was also where my spirit was and like what was happening to me and with me and my dad in this room. Um so like right before he's getting ready to go, like you could tell it was getting close. He had been ready. He had been ready. Like we didn't even think he was going to make it for the harvest, which was like, you're going to put us through all this and then you're not going to make it, dude. Um, but he was ready. So he literally, I'm talking to him. I'm just, Dad, you made it. You know, all those things. Like it's time. You can go. We're okay. And he started to like bring down his eyes. And I like lean up. I'm like, oh, Dad, thanks for letting me see your beautiful eyes one more time. And they just like kept going. And they like struggled. And all of a sudden, they like fixated. Like genuinely fixated. And I felt like God was like Jesus was like right here. And for me in that moment, I got to witness my dad's body here on earth, like fixing his eyes on Jesus to go to his heavenly home. Because then, literally, after that, he like did a cough and a, like released his air and he was gone. And like that was it. And I was like, okay, that's it. Like he's gone. Like he went to be with Jesus. Like, Dad, you made it. Like that's so awesome. And I'm celebrating for you. And I don't want to be sad because you are like in the best place ever right now. And like that is so cool. So I like go to turn around and like I wanted to get out of there. Like I did not want to be in there anymore. And they're like, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." And I was like, shoot, he's not dead. I was like, I thought he died. Like, if that wasn't him dying, like, now I'm real messed up in the head. And then, lo and behold, like, he had died. They were just trying to give me more time, but I was like, I don't want more time in here. Uh, um, so like that was so cool because like for me, that experience was like when heaven meets earth. Yeah, that was like a moment where I was like, that's when heaven met earth. And I got to see it. Like really, and that's so cool. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe me right now. I have a hoodie down here. If my mom watches this, she's going to be like, I can't believe he did this and like did it on the internet and then wiped your face with a hoodie. Um hold on. Okay. I'm gonna have to wash this. All right, I'm so gross, people. So yeah, that was saying goodbye to Dad. And that was one of the most beautiful, painful things I had ever experienced. Um, and then the other, like another cool, but like, hold on, let me make sure that this is where I wanted to go. Okay. Um, I wanted to get into a little bit with my kids because that's been the other really, really hard thing. And I'm trying to see the beauty in it. And I'm not 100% where it is, but then I think that there is a lot of beauty. But grief, like, sometimes makes things like not look that way. Um, Having to tell my kids that their pappy died was really, really hard. That was like the hardest moment of parenting ever because they really loved him. And I mean, they saw him all the time. Like, I mean, he was here a couple days a week if he was not away working, family vacations, holidays, like everything. Like, he was just always here, sleep over a lot. Or they would FaceTime him. And it really played out like the exact way we thought it was going to between the three kids, which was like, oh, we saw that was coming. Because we have one that likes to shut things down, the other one that has a lot of emotion, but like does not know what to do with them all the time. Big feelings a lot. And then another one that that's just like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but like actually figures it out, but like you're not really quite sure when they figure it out. Um anyway, so telling our kids that their pappy died was really, really hard. And because like I'm so confident in like knowing where pappy is, like I can't imagine losing someone that I love and them not being a believer. Like I know that's gonna happen. That's gonna be a different kind of grief because I know what happens after here. And I don't want to have to experience that here on earth because death isn't something that like God originally designed to take place. So it's like it's not part of like our makeup and like what we're supposed to be experiencing. Life is like eternal. Um but like we do lose our earthly bodies here, but then we can have eternity with Christ. But like it's not the way that God designed it to be. So there's like not like, yeah, it's natural because everyone's going to die, but like it's so painful because it's just like it wasn't supposed to happen. Um, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Definitely, it's just a weird thing. Um, so my kids, they they loved him a lot. They loved him a lot, and having to tell them, like, I was able to tell them in confidence, like where Pappy was, and I mean, if parents are actually interested in hearing like how I walked them through that, then I can go into it. But I also just, I don't know, I can't make this 2 hours long. So, um, they, I was just very like honest with what happened, and that like he's not here on earth. His body is done and it is like it's gone, and um, but he is in heaven. But we can't talk to him. We won't see him until we get up there, and all those things. Because as much as like we want to protect our kids, and as much as we want to um, be able to like protect them from like grief and from pain and from loss and from suffering, we can actually do that. Like we can to a small extent, we can protect our children, but we can't protect them from all the pain in this world. And so even when they're young, like I needed to be honest and with them so that they could, like, what I'm supposed to be doing is empowering them and teaching them how to like walk through these hard things of life, because they're going to happen. So it's not about like avoiding grief, it's about like helping them learn how to navigate grief. And part of that is like really understanding what's going on. And but like to a point where like their little minds can comprehend and like what their hearts can actually handle, because there's going to be suffering and there's going to be pain. And as a mom, I think it's very important to try to equip my kids now and teach them like how to navigate that, because life sucks and is painful at times, and there's nothing we can do about that. And I want them to be able to like be strong people that can like handle that and rely on Christ through those times and like come to God like with their pain and with their hurt, and allow God to like sit in that with them, because I feel like that's hard to do. And sometimes as believers, we're like, God, why would you do this, or fix it or take it? But like he doesn't promise easy, and he also never said that like we weren't going to have this suffering. It's just really about inviting him to that space and allowing him like malice and allowing him to like suffer with us. So telling them has been hard, and they've had like a lot of really great questions. One of my son's first questions was like, wait, does Pappy still have his phone? And we're like, no. And he goes, oh, I wanted to call him in heaven. There's also been like really hard moments with a lot of tears and screaming and crying and sadness, but we just kind of got to roll through the waves of it, because I don't want them to feel like they can't go through the process of grief or mourning, even though it's not really a process. It's not something that like has a start, middle, and an end. Like when you lose someone and there is grief, like it doesn't get smaller, but your world gets bigger around it. You're gonna have to get kicked off if you can't stop. Um, I hope that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know if there was anything else I wanted to share. Let me see if I had anything else in my notes for anyone that actually would still be listening. Yeah, I guess like I'm just gonna leave it there. That's just where I'm at with it all right now. There's a lot of heartache and there's a lot of pain, but there's a lot of really cool things that I'm thankful for, because Dad's not suffering anymore and he's in a good spot. And it hurts, but it's good and it's right. Um, and this you're being bad. So if you're listening to this or watching this, um, and you want to share part of your story, please do. You know, misery loves company. um, but I think it's so good for us to be able to be vulnerable and talk about these things because it's just life. It's just what it's going to be, and we got to figure out how to like work through it. And a lot of times that's with other people. So actually, I want to pray, but for you, if you've lost someone, but I like this dog is making me so nutso right now. Let's see if she can stop. Um, Father God, I just pray for anyone that has I don't know watched this or has been listening, God, and is going through grief right now or the experience of like losing someone that they really love and care for and just the pain, God, that's there with that. And it hurts. Like it's physically painful. God, you know the loss. Like you've experienced all of these things as well. And you comfort us in that. And I thank you. And I ask that I can always just like continue to say, like, yes, God, please let me just sit with you in it and be quiet and still with you, God. And I just pray for those out there that might not really have the experience in grieving with you, God, for you to continue to make yourself known to them and for them to be able to ask you the questions and seek for answers in you, Lord, even if they're not necessarily the answers that they want, but they're the answers that they need. And yeah, I pray for peace to be in their life, God. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Well, that was 37 minutes we're at of pure misery for most of you. But if you are here, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.